this computer. Okay, thank you all. So the bulk of what we're doing today is looking at this high quality arts media entertainment pathway model. So at the center of the AME model is this idea that what we teach is aligned to what happens in the real world in our industry. And in order to do that, we break it down into these different pieces of the pie. And so you can see that it includes things that are really familiar to you already, like industry partnerships and authentic assessments and work-based learning. And then there are also this outer ring around collaboration with other disciplines. And that could be with other subjects in the school day, it could be with other animation and gaming teachers. And then there's a piece about pathway promotion. Especially in the arts, media, entertainment classes and pathways, we really have to promote our programs. Otherwise, our families won't know to select our school for them. And, you are the best ambassadors for your program. And so it's got to be part of our toolkit that we promote it, and we have media that can help us promote it. And then certifications and articulation are thinking about like what are going to be those skills and how do we signify those skills to the workforce so that people can see that, oh, when a student graduates from this program, they have this certificate and that means they're ready for this job. So a little look at the AME sector now. Um, this screenshot comes from the CVL Economics US Bureau Labor Statistics job report, and it's a little out of date right now. It says it's from 2023, but I also have a tool for you to have even more updated job data. But one of the things I want to highlight is that there are some jobs within the gaming and animation field that are much higher than the US average wage at, $48 an hour and above. So it's still, even in this time of uncertainty and change with AI and change with the economy, there are still bright outlooks out there. And another thing I would love to highlight is we sometimes think about the jobs we're preparing our students for are only the ones that are in the AME sector. But the one thing I would like to highlight is that every sector, whether it be engineering or architecture or business and marketing, has creative people on their workforce, content creators, designers, graphics, motion graphics, all these things are part of many different industries. So please know, and you'll see reflected in the industry skills framework that the skills you're giving your students will hopefully place them right in the AME industry where they want to be and in video games and animation, but there's a lot of transferable skills too. So for this first portion, we're going to have some time to dive into some of this data. And I don't know why this little QR code is not working. So I'm going to put this Figma board in the chat. So I created this Figma today for us to be able to have a space for you to find all the links that I'm sharing and also see what everyone else is thinking when it comes to industry alignment in animation and gaming. So I just pasted a link to this in the chat. And if you could take a moment here and go ahead and open up the Figma and oh, I see a few folks joining us. Let me know if you have any trouble. Um, you'll notice that Figma is like a infinite canvas type format where if you see it all at once, it's really too small to read, but you can zoom in on sections. And what we're going to do to start our time together today is start with activity one. So the first thing I'd like to invite you to do is think about some of the occupations that are aligned with animation and gaming. And if you could give me just a thumbs up in the chat if you have Figma open in your own device. If you're on a phone, you might just click on the ONET database and maybe share in the chat if it's too difficult to use Figma. But if you're on a laptop, this will hopefully be pretty easy. So give me a thumbs up in the chat when you're with me so I can know to move on. I see 7 folks are on there. All right. Thank you, everybody. Okay, so the first tool And this is really like a tool sharing day because we're not going to like write curriculum together today. We're not going to solve all the problems, but I hope to bring some attention to some tools that you can go back later and dive into. So if you click on this first link in activity one, it's called the ONET Career um, Online Database. So it's an occupation database rather than a career, I should say. So I'm going to just start by typing in video game designer. And this is a pretty cool database because it helps you. It's like a national database that has, a lot of information about the career currently and the occupation currently. And then it also breaks it down into tasks, technology skills, work activities, context, and it even shows you related jobs. And you'll notice that some of the jobs will have like a little flame next to them or like an upward arrow. And that means that they're like kind of on the rise and there's like a lot of demand for them. And you can see even within a skill, like, certain software has like high demand. And so what I would like you to do, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a little bit while we put the timer on. I'd like you to dive into ONET online. Dive in just what I did here and pick one or two careers that you are really aligned to what you teach. And to save you some time, I directly linked some of the ones that I thought would be applicable. And then what you'll do is you'll use this sticky note tool. So at the bottom here in Figma, you'll see that there are tools. And if you click on the sticky note, you can add a sticky note and make it whatever color you want. And then what you'll do is leave a little comment. And so I gave an example here and I said, I noticed that a key skill for video game designers is to solicit frequent feedback throughout the project. Teaching structures for students to give and receive feedback is a key feature in my class that I would like to emphasize. So for in this next 5 minutes, we're going to put 5 minutes on the clock here in a moment, and I'd like you to pick even just one, but if you have time, more than one career to peruse on ONET, and then leave a sticky note. Okay, so for that 5 minutes, I'm gonna stop sharing screen so you can have a little more room on your screen to explore. And then we'll come back in 5 minutes and start to look at what each other posted. And if you have time, you can also leave a comment. Um, Figma also has a cool tool for leaving little stamps and emojis on each other's posts. So I'm going to go ahead within Figma, you should see a timer start. And if you're having any trouble accessing Figma, don't worry. You could just type in ONET online or I'll paste that in the chat and just explore that way. Just stay on ONET. So I'll paste that in the chat now. All right. Welcome, folks that are just joining us. We are starting with an activity of career explore or occupation alignment exploration using a tool called ONET Online. I just pasted that into the chat, and we're on a Figma FigJam board. So I'm going to put that into the chat as well if you want to see where we're at. We're not sharing screen right now, so folks have room to click on links and make posts and all that good stuff. And we'll be doing this activity for about 4 more minutes. If you just joined us and you need some support with what are we doing, please reach out to me in the chat and I can get you the links you need. I'd love to hear some voices too. I know we're mostly communicating through the chat, but I'd love to hear some voices of what you're noticing and as you explore the careers. As you look through the database, it might be even just a few skills that stand out to you. There's like, oh, that's something that's really important part of my class. I'm aligned with that skill. Right. So it looks like we've got 8 folks on the Figma, but we've got more than 8 folks in the Zoom. So just to cover our bases, I'm going to put the Figma link in the chat again. That's where you should be right now. We got about 2 more minutes. See if you can find something that you would want to comment on and make a post-it for. So those careers are that are directly aligned to animation and game design, project management specialists, video game designers, art directors, fine artists, including painters and sculptors, special effects artists, animators, producers and directors, media technical directors and managers, and film and video editors. Oh, thanks for sharing, Fatima. I see there's a lot of editing jobs. Yes. And Fatima, that's another one that we have some really cool pre-apprenticeship programs through the state for teaching editing. Oh, that's Holly. Sorry, Fatima's cursor was over it. Thanks, Holly. All right, looking for a few more post-its. I'll move this one over just so we have room for people that are working on theirs. Remember to make a sticky, you're going to click on that toolbar at the bottom, and then you can start typing into it. And again, this is a light touch and a new resource in case you haven't seen ONET before, but this is a tool that you could use with your students. You could have them explore some of the careers and see what are they learning now and how might it apply to a real job. What are the jobs out there that are, trending upwards? Looks like folks are working on stickies, so we'll take about another 30 seconds or so. And with anything on the Figma, you're welcome to continue working on it after I move on. This is this link is here for you to come to after the session is over. And there's a lot of embedded links within it too. All right, so I'm going to go back to my share screen. Okay, so let's see what we've got. Um, oh, I like this comment. MJ says, I didn't know fine artists needed to know CAD software and database interface query software. Well, interesting. I'm a fine artist, and keeping a database on your artwork and being able to archive your work is a huge skill. And a lot of artists don't know how to do it, and ones that do it oftentimes make more sales because they know where their work is and they know how to categorize it. Especially the more time that you spend making art and the bigger inventory you have, the more important having a database is. CAD software, yeah, that's not a skill I have as an artist. Any other shout outs people have about comments they see coming up? Anyone want to unmute? Oh, here, we got another one over here. Yeah, portfolio development. Thanks, Stephanie, for sharing that. That's a really important one. Okay, and Kian teaches game development from pre-production to post, and all of these skills are relevant and taught in some way. Yeah, teaching those stages of production are one of those through lines in a lot of AME classes. Thank you to everyone that shared. In the interest of time, we are going to have to go to the next slide in a little bit, but if you're in mid-thought, please feel free to keep going. So let's go ahead to our next slide. Also, if you want to learn more about the creative economy, there is the Otis Creative Economy Report. Otis College of Art in Southern California, which many of you are familiar with, has a really neat creative economies dashboard, and it's a great thing to look at for even at the county level, what kind of AME jobs are out there. And let's see, there we go. Next slide. Okay, so we're going to shift gears now. Yes. Oh, Michaela has a question as a student. What do you say students who have Autodesk Maya experience should apply to jobs that ask for Autodesk CAD or Revit? Oh, that is out of my area of expertise. I am not familiar with any of those software, unfortunately. Does anyone have any insight from Michaela on that? Cool. MJ, are you referring to the Q&A in the chat? Is that what you mean? Okay. So we're going to go ahead and shift gears into talking about the new 2024 Industry Skills Framework. So one of the things I want to start off with is like, why in teaching do we use standards? So one thing that standards help us do is have some common agreements. So for example, if I'm teaching animation one up here in Oakland, California, where I'm located, it has some things in common with what is being taught in Ingleside in Animation One, and that there are some baseline agreements. And those are not only things like anchor standards that are across all fields, like we need to teach students the, academic standards, the technology standards, um, health and safety, all those things are cross sectors. So these are similar whether you're an engineering pathway or AME pathway. Then there are cross-cutting standards, and the cross-cutting standards are going to be also have some kind of equivalent, even though they are unique to our sector. So, like when we become game designers, or animators, we also have to be knowledgeable about business and marketing, legal questions, media content, production and project management. And then that last category in the industry skills framework is skill building, process and practice, career exploration, and advanced technology and impact. So when we open up the industry skills framework in a moment, you'll see that each category of AME, each focus area has those four sections, but there's a special wording for animation and game design. And hopefully you'll see your courses really reflected in a more specific way. And then the anchor standards and cross-cutting standards are more applicable across subject areas. Pathway standards specific to your focus area. So the industry skills framework, let's go ahead and open it up on our own computers. So I've got a QR code here and I've got a bit.ly, whichever is easier for you. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to, let's see, what's the easiest way to get you the link? I'm going to go ahead and copy this link and put it right in the chat. This is our kind of core document for how do we take what we're teaching and align it to the industry. Oh, good. We got all kinds of people joining us. Um, so the industry skills framework is our new standards document. It has not officially been adopted as the standards yet. That's why it's called skills rather than standards. The California Department of Education is waiting to adopt it as the standards until the rest of the sectors in CTE update their standards. So the industry skills framework will become the standards, but right now you can use it to plan your curriculum. So it's an official California Department of Education document. It was developed around over 5 years, and it was not just folks in the industry, but it was also CTE teachers like yourself working together to come to an agreement. So remember, I said when I opened this section that having standards is about having some like common language, common agreements about what are the things that are really important to teach and how to teach them. And so on the table of contents, you'll see that all of these are linked to a bookmark. And I just want to give a little orientation to how this is organized. So the anchor skills, again, those are across the board, no matter what arts form you teach. The anchor skills are important. They're like kind of like the core values of the class. Cross-cutting skills help you look at some of the interdisciplinary things that you would teach, especially if you're doing things like integrated projects. And then the pathway skills, that's where we get into your world. So I'm going to go ahead and click on animation visual effects so you can follow along with me and do the same thing. And it's going to zoom you ahead to that same occupational list that we were looking at before. And then it's going to take you into the different skills. And what I'd like you to do now is have this in one tab and then have your Figma in another tab. So I'm going to kind of model that. So here I've got this ready, and I'm going to be looking at the standards and doing some copying and pasting. And then you'll be kind of reporting back on what you are thinking and how it relates to your curriculum back on our Figma board. So if you scroll down a little bit on the Figma board, our directions are here. It says open the industry skills framework and go to the gaming and animation area. So we just did that. And it says using the colored rectangles below, copy and paste the skills onto a sticky note and categorize them. So this is what's called standards mapping. And I want you to enter into this being very gentle on yourself. Wherever you're at is perfectly fine. If you feel like all these standards are new to you and they're all exploring, there's no judgment. It's a great place to be exploring. But there might be some that you're really advanced or intermediate at already. So the activity here is for us to map between these three categories, advanced, intermediate, and exploring. And we're going to put 5 minutes on the clock again. And I would like you to see how many standards you get to. If you only get to one or two, that's totally fine. And then we'll have a chance to start to notice some of the trends. What are the ones that we're seeing in the green box, the yellow box, and the blue box? Okay, so just to recap, on one tab, you have your industry skills framework open, and you're going to zero in on your animation, visual effects, and games section, which you can navigate to in the sidebar here. And then back on our jam, our Fig Jam, you're going to be copying and pasting the standard with a little reflection on it and why you placed it in that particular area. So just to give a quick modeling again of that, so I picked the um, animation video game 17.2, Knowledge of Anatomy, Body Mechanics, and Facial Expressions. And I feel like this one is advanced for me because I have a really strong core of teaching my students figure drawing. So they've had a lot of experience drawing from the human body. If you have any questions on the activity, go ahead and ask me in the chat, and I'm going to put 5 minutes on the clock. Again, this is a light touch in this document. This is a huge document. It's called the Industry Skills Framework again, and it is like a roadmap for you to figure out what to teach and how to teach it in order to be aligned with what's currently industry practices. And again, this was designed by a group of people currently in industry, currently in schools, and them coming together in an advisory board. And Allison Frenzel, our AME lead for the state, she really led this work, and they worked on it for 5 years. So it's a really cool document. And I'll go ahead and stop sharing so that you have more screen space, and then we'll come back to the Figma board once we get some post-its on here. Yes, MJ, the rating for advanced, intermediate, and exploring is for your own curriculum. Yeah. So what you're currently teaching. And if it's something that like, oh, I don't cover that at all in my class, you could put it in exploring. And given that animation, gaming, and visual effects that might take place, some of these standards might take place in multiple classes, not just in one class. So there's definitely not a problem if some of them aren't being taught in your class. And as a time saver, remember you can just copy and paste the standard right into your sticky and then leave a little comment under it. Thank you, Vandana, for that response to Michaela's question about software. That's really wonderful to see people sharing knowledge. Maya can be the foundation to learn CAD and Revit. Okay. Okay, I'm starting to see some coming up in the intermediate. So cool to see all this knowledge being shared. To remember you, if you bookmark this Figma board, you can come back to it and visit some of the links that we're just doing a light touch on, maybe even connect back to some people that were in the session that you might want to follow up with. Oh, this is interesting. I'm seeing all intermediate and advanced so far. We must have a very experienced group here. All right, so we got about another minute to make our sticky note. We're doing really good on time. I really appreciate people's participation. It can be hard to do these online presentations when there's not a lot of participation. So I really appreciate folks jumping in and trying this activity. I like Kian's comment here regarding working with a production team to contribute to a comprehensive animated scene, sequence, or game. We break into teams. Students make full games over months with full production cycles, alpha, betas, testing, and a gold release, with marketing happening along the way. I think we're pretty advanced. Kian, what school do you teach at? Oops, I couldn't hear you. Oh, that's all right. It's just good. Culver City, nice. Okay, so shout out to some of the folks who are intermediate. So let's see, MJ, applying principles of character design and development, world design. I did do teaching for a while, and this was something I also was learning alongside with them. I do that all the time too. Learning with the kids is a great, especially with like learning a new digital tool. They change so quickly. Shout out to Holly, exploring careers in production, coordination, and management. So currently teaching film, but former visual effects. Yeah, so many overlaps and in those. I was learning a lot about all the different careers at Lucasfilm at the last AME event. Oh, I like this one. Develop and apply entrepreneurial skills to advance creative ideas. Yeah, demonstrating and understanding of marketing. Yeah, I've learned that is such an important thing as a creative, be able to market your work. Well, Kian and Holly, thank you for being our, and MJ, being our super participators. If any folks are still looking through and they would like to, oh, great, Stephanie, thank you for sharing that. Would like to still add, feel free to. We're going to go ahead and move on to the next slide. but this Figma space is yours, and it's a great way to connect with other educators through activities like this. So let's see. Hold on, we gotta move our window here. All right. So are folks hearing the audio at all on this video? Okay, I don't think we're gonna have audio. Um, This teacher is an animation and game design teacher in Ingleside, or sorry, Inglewood. Tadeo Huazo. Does anyone know him? I haven't met him before because I'm based up in the Bay Area. One of the things that we wanted to highlight with this video, it doesn't have much in the way of audio, it's just music, so it's okay that we don't have the audio, is I just want you to notice the tools the students are using, the workflow that they have, and this video just gives us a little bit of a window into what it's like for students in his class. Um, so a lot of times in an animation and a game design or a film class or even a graphic design class, a big part of making your class career aligned is that you have these different components. Not only are they using tools that are aligned with what is really used in the industry and that you're constantly trying to update your lab, but also that their students are developing a portfolio so that they're not just getting a grade for the projects that they make, but they're going to come away with something public that they could share in an internship or in a job or in a college setting. Another thing that I think is really impressive about this program is that it offers an on-site apprenticeship in the final 2 years. I want to show you a little bit back on the industry skills framework, some different ways that the team that created the industry skills framework is starting to think about pre-apprenticeship. So if you'd like to see more of that, you can definitely look up Tadeo Huazo online, a really impressive program. I'd love to see that in person. Um, but in regard to, I have this funny thing happening. Why is that happening? Okay. Okay, there we go. Um, so one of the things I want to highlight is in the industry skills framework, the same document that we're exploring, there is a section called pre-apprenticeship. So if you scroll down here, you'll even see Brick Foundation is represented there. Um, this is a really cool thing. It's an extra set of standards that are directly related to the industry. Oh, thank you. Yeah, Vandana, if you get to decide where you want to put it, exploring, advanced, or intermediate. Oh. So at the bottom here, there's a section for the pre-apprenticeship program alignment. And this is a really interesting process that's I've gone through just once now. And Jack is not on the call anymore, but Jack is one of his roles is to review curriculum to see how well it aligns to a pre-apprenticeship. So if it's something that you're interested in doing, what you would do is you'd look through your course and you'd create a course outline and start to, in addition to adding those focus skills where you are looking through the distinct animation and game design skills that you want to teach, you'd also start to see like, okay, in these brick foundation skills, am I also teaching any of these? And attach them to units of study and lessons. And then what you would do is you would submit it to Brick Foundation, as far as I understand, and they would see if it meets the requirements to be a pre-apprenticeship program. So that's a way that you can start to align with what you're doing to directly what the industry is asking for students to come to them ready to do. So that's exactly what a pre-apprenticeship is it's a way for students to prepare for an apprenticeship while they're in high school, and the apprenticeship might happen in the summer or it might happen after they graduate. So that's a kind of a cool additional thing that you can do. If you're writing a course for the first time it might be a lot to do this, and it might be just enough to just focus on these design, oh, sorry, animation, these focus area standards, that's a good place to start. But if you feel like you've been teaching for a while and you're like, I really want to get my students aligned with apprenticeship, then you can check out those pre-apprenticeship standards as well. All right. I'm going to go ahead back to our slides here. Thank you so much for your patience as I navigate all these tools. Oops, present. Okay. All right. So we got through our activity two. I want to tell you a little bit about, as we get ready to close down for the day, a little bit more about what AME Institute does. So I'm going to put the AME Institute link in our chat. So I'll switch this tab over from ONET to AMEI. So AME Institute is becoming not just a producer of some really excellent conferences and live events. So our two main live events are the Burbank conference that's coming up in June, and then also a Bay Area pop-up. And we not only have the live events, but we have a whole nother offering around professional development. And I'm the lead facilitator for the professional development. And I want to spend a little bit of time just showing you that page. If you are a pathway lead or an administrator for your school, you could definitely use this page to kind of do some planning for what your AME teachers might need. And if you are an AME teacher and you want to advocate for getting some more training around AME alignment, this is your place. So you'll see there's a button right there. Thank you so much, Merlin, for putting that there. You can inquire more. But we have three main offerings for AME Institute. The first one is if you're really interested in looking at developing a course or a pathway that's in an AME sector. And so could be game design, it could be animation, it could be any of those things. You'll see a little description here. It's a 3-day PD. Then the AME Alignment 2 goes zooming in a little bit. So if AME Alignment 1 is around your course, AME Alignment 2 is about your project. So creating like that signature project for 10th grade. What is that really juicy project that has elements of critique and revision and a real world problem? And it's got something where students have voice and choice. And it maybe even has like a public showcase that's some kind at the end of it. If you're interested in creating a project that is really robust and it maybe takes a whole unit to create, like I heard from the sticky notes that some of you are working on games and teams over many weeks, you might want to look at the project-based learning framework as a way to bring that AME project to the next level. So that's alignment two. And then if you're looking to create a community with other AME teachers and really work on practice sharing and advancing your own practice and doing cycles of inquiry, the AME professional learning communities can be done in person or on Zoom. So that's our third offering. We just did a series of those last fall with a group of teachers in Alameda County, and it was really powerful. Teachers were able to share their practice and share a lesson and get feedback on it and look at student work together. Um, then next up, so that's on our AME Institute website. Next up, I just want to make sure everyone knows the big event of the year for AME Institute is AME Institute Burbank. So June 25th, 26th, and 27th. And then that's that Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. The Monday and Tuesday of that week, there's special opportunities to get certified in software. So I think I'll just pop back over to here so you can see the breakdown. Yeah, so here's the agenda at a glance. So the first 2 days is a pre-institute where you can do Adobe boot camps or Unreal Engine boot camps. And then Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday are all about taking you to the industry, the AME industry that's in that area. It's really exciting sessions. Field trips all around to real studios, real companies that your students are working, hopefully going to be working with in the future. So that's coming up in June. All the information you need about it is on the website, but really hope to see some of you there. Um, Last but not least, do also have some virtual learning opportunities. There's a whole series on YouTube, on our YouTube channel. You can follow the QR code there. There's some really cool free options just to kind of dive in and continue this work on your own. But yeah, that we already went over the AME alignment. But if you want to keep in touch, please reach out at info@AME Institute. Also, you can sign up for our newsletter there. And yeah, feel free to stay on for a few minutes before you head to your next session. If you have any questions for me, I'd love to talk with you more in depth. But it's been such a pleasure working with you all today and getting to hear just little snippets about what you're teaching and what you want to add more to your program. And thank you so much. Thank you, Amy. Thank you, Vandana. Thank you, MJ. Thank you, Hazel.